Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, so we'll start off, Atafo, with the roll call, please.
Bill Thomas,
Here.
Ken Carroll,
Here.
Cheryl Slapczewski, Gordon Butler,
Yes.
Jeff Peterson,
Yes.
Marty Flynn,
Yes.
John Stanton.
Okay, thank you. Both John and Cheryl did notify us they would not be able to be here tonight. In addition, sitting up here, we have our Community Development Director, Daniel Ritter, and our City of Crest Hill Planner, Atafa. And we had a little bit of a switch around here, so Atafa will also be responsible for the minutes going forward. And I would like to thank the administrative clerk, Linda Reha, for her service to the Plan Commission for the last 7 months. We appreciated it. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the Plan Commission meeting held on July 9th, 2026 as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Carroll,
Second.
second by Commissioner Butler. Roll call, please.
Ken Carroll,
Yes.
Gordon Butler,
Yes.
Jeff Peterson,
Yes.
Marty Flynn,
Yes.
Bill Thomas.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, we have 2 cases on the agenda for tonight. Our first case is a public hearing and consideration of petitions for a preliminary and final plat of subdivision, cases SU-26-7-8-1 and V-26-6-8-1. A request of the City of Crest Hill seeking special approvals from the Crest Hill subdivision zoning ordinance and city code to subdivide the subject property into 4 lots with a special use for an outdoor entertainment plaza and public park playground in the B3 Business Service District, and a variations request from Table 2 of the zoning districts and standards for non-residential uses in the B3 Business Service District, and Section 8.3 through 8, permitted obstructions in yards of Crest Hill zoning ordinance, located on the proposed 3.1 acre B3 Business Service District zone property known as the City Center Plaza at 20590 through 20660 City Center Boulevard. Atafa, is all the paperwork in order?
All necessary paperwork is in order.
Okay, with that, I would like to have a motion to open the public hearing for case SU-26-7-8-1 and V-26-6-8-1.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Peterson,
Second it.
seconded by Commissioner Flynn. Roll call, please.
Jeff Peterson,
Yes.
Marty Flynn,
Yes.
Ken Carroll,
Yes.
Gordon Butler,
Yes.
Bill Thomas.
Yes. Public
Motion
hearing is opened at 7:04. Again, the subject of the hearing is to discuss a request from the City of Crest Hill for special use for outdoor recreation plaza park referred to as Crest Hill Commons in the public park playground, and multiple variations requested from the Crest Hill zoning ordinance for the property located at 20590 to 20660 City Center Boulevard. While no site improvements are proposed in this application, it will allow for future public city center plaza to be developed with the Lockport Township Park District owning a separate playground lot. And with all that said, Atafa, would you please expand on our case tonight, or is it Daniel?
Yeah, it's Dennis.
Daniel, sorry.
I'll take it from here.
Okay.
Thanks, Chairman, for doing the hard part and reading all the technical side of it. We do have what I think is a pretty exciting project coming forward now. It's been talked about, and there's been a number of steps done at the city council to get this project moving. A project being done by the city of Crest Hill, and so where the applicant is part of this. There's some different names you can kind of hear even in that reading, and that's because it's a project in progress as we talk right now at multiple levels. So the formal name we're going forward with at this point, as of 2 weeks ago, is Crest Hill Commons. And just to kind of give you a sense of what that is it's really meant to be all-inclusive of what's going to be an outdoor public plaza, park, potential band shells, walking paths, other types of entertainment throughout the year. So I'll get a little more into that, but that's kind of the goal of the name that we came up with, was really to be something for the city of Crest Hill going forward, and something kind of all-inclusive of what that space is, where often we kept going towards park when we were thinking about names, but that really kind of makes you think more of like outdoor recreation, the park district. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but we were really trying to come up with a name that was more like a central place in Crest Hill. So with that being said, again, the city of Crest Hill owns all of the property as part of these requests today. There will be a plat of subdivision. It's going to take one very large lot now and basically dice that up into 4 separate lots. As well as add kind of any of the necessary easements for utilities, access, parking easement, all that's part of that plat of subdivision. There's a special use for an outdoor entertainment space that includes everything that will be part of this. So the plaza, the playground, there'll be a music band shell, we hope fairly soon, as well as anything else that might kind of be tied to that in terms of events and things like that. So, and then there's a couple variations. There's 3 variations from kind of our non-residential use zoning table. Most of those relate to the playground lot. So like the lot size, not having frontage, really not having any setbacks, and that's because it's an internal lot to this overall plaza, Crest Hill Commons. The goal of that being that the Park District wants to control their own property just for insurance reasons, grant reasons, those types of things. They want to be able to have that lot themselves. So not very typical when you talk about land development that we're carving out an internal parcel, and not something you would necessarily want to happen with 2 private owners, but as 2 public owners that will have an IGA in effect, easements in place, and for this being a not just long-term plan, but basically a plan that we hope goes on forever here in Crest Hill. It makes a lot of sense, and again, doesn't fit our standard kind of zoning requirements for lots. So, and then there's also variations, again, just with, permitted yard obstructions, fencing, setbacks of equipment, and in the like. Again, with the playground on an internal lot, it just doesn't meet kind of some of those standard requirements you would see. So the subject site, we're sitting on it right now. So I think this will be the only time you guys see a zoning one where we're doing the meeting at the location that's being requested. So altogether right now it's a 19.33 acre site. This property was part of the original Menards subdivision and development. Menards was developed in 2007, and then they carved out a lot of kind of outlot parcels. The initial goal was, hey, we're going to have this really large shopping center, commercial area. In 2007, that probably sounded great. In 2026, the markets have really changed. The world has changed, obviously, in a lot of ways. That really, for a large commercial development, isn't happening. Outlet development, commercial development, still happening, but not at the scale that was kind of originally proposed out here. And because of that, this overall area is zoned B3, our business service, our most intense commercial district, basically. Obviously, it has changed a little bit here with the vision of the city making this area, specifically an area in the back of this and off of Weber Road, more a city center location. It's somewhat almost the geographical center of the city, depending on if you're looking at where people live and including the prison. So it's really kind of central to the north, the west, the east, and the south parts of the city. So it makes it a really good location to do this. It's also kind of just the land that is probably the least valuable out here for commercial development purposes. So the first kind of part of the city center vision was the new library that got constructed out here. That was in 2013. And then after a large amount of planning, 2023 is when the city hall that we're sitting in was constructed and completed. That includes City Hall, the police department, parking, as well as a memorial location. And again, completed in 2023. As part of that, even kind of right coming off of that, there's always been a discussion about really this area that's between the library and the City Hall and how that can be utilized by the community. So very early on, the thought was always, hey, we could do a plaza, a park there. Whether it be simple or big was always, and the details of it were always kind of the discussion, but the thought, at least since 2023, or if not before that, has always been, hey, let's do some kind of central meeting place that doesn't currently exist in Crest Hill because we don't have a downtown. We have Hillcrest Shopping Center, which kind of functions as like the main commercial hub, but it's not very walkable. It doesn't have a lot of kind of the public services. It's on the edge of town. So again, the thought is trying to make this area kind of a central meeting place that people can go to get services done. The Crest Hill Commons goals and overview, so I won't go through all this, but it just kind of sets the tone of what we're looking to accomplish with this park. And again, creating that kind of centralized shared community gathering space, really a place. So we talk about like a third place. You have your home, you've got your work, and like what else do you do? And we want to kind of create this more than something that's just like a neighborhood park. We want this to really be a place where we can do events, community gathering, and people have that ability to kind of utilize this in different ways. So both by the city, the park district, and then the library all have some ability to kind of use this space. There's different camps, different events, especially in the summer for the park district and the library. The park district's also pretty well versed at putting on concerts and movies in the park type things, and they do that elsewhere, but they have the ability to help us kind of activate this space as well over the year. And then the city ourselves have kind of growing events every year as we've got the winter event, we've got the Easter event, but there's other things we want to do as well. There's always been discussion of trying to do some kind of a market, whether it be local businesses or farmers markets can be tough, and I won't get into that, but some kind of market that would be kind of cool, could benefit businesses and benefit the community. So overall, again, the goal is kind of civic engagement, activating a place, and really giving the community something to help that we continue to grow, continue to diversify here. And so a good public park here seems like a pretty good future investment. It's something that helps us compete and stay relevant and be able to, again, host events in a place that's planned for that and not necessarily in parking lots and things of that nature that we adjust to it. This one will actually have having people there in mind from the start. There is a little bit, right now is just our preliminary kind of construction schedule for this. It's kind of coming in different phases. Some of that is really got to do with us wanting to get it up and running as soon as possible. It's actually got a little less to do with money, but everything has to do with money. So this kind of does break it down also in phases to make sure we can maybe kind of get grants as we go along, we can get proper financing and try and limit kind of any costs to the public. There'll be some, but we're hoping we can cover a lot of it with grants and just kind of over time have this really well-planned park go through. The phase one is basically kicking off with the council based on Monday's discussion we had with them. They gave us some kind of direction on the initial phase, which includes grading, underground utilities, concrete flat work and parking lot construction, basically the south part of this park, the front end of it, that will be immediately accessible and visible. And then there'll be kind of separate parts of doing the irrigation components, lighting in the playground area, install itself, pedestrian lighting, the pathways, the overall landscaping, and then kind of the last phase, so that'll be working north in this plaza, and then the last but not least is the plaza and the shelters, the physical buildings on this property that would basically come in after everything else is done. So our goals, we have an overall unified plan that I'll show you. This zoning request itself is technically not a site plan review of all of this, but to give you guys some context, I think it's important to kind of know how we got to where we're at. And certainly if there is general feedback on the plaza, we can pass it on to the city council. Again, that's not really part of really this zoning request is about the lots in the zoning of those lots, not necessarily the development, but again, they tie together. So this was one of the earlier concept plans from a couple of years ago that we've adjusted, but has really been kind of the basis of what we're looking at. And again, a parking lot that would be on the south side of this, a playground, some shelter and some shaded space, and overall kind of path around this that would allow for those types of things like markets or businesses to set up around the perimeter of it and have kind of a nice space to be able to walk around and see all of those. And then on the north side, having some kind of amphitheater, music pavilion, activated space there on the north side of it. Here's another kind of the next rendering that came out of that, and again, you can see a little more of it in a big open space kind of in the middle where you'd have, when you have a concert or a movie going on the north side or a speech, you could have people in this kind of open grass area with the pathway kind of going around it. And then on the bottom left there is where the playground would be, and then the bottom right is where you'd have shelter, bathrooms, and some other things that will benefit the overall Crest Hill Commons. The most recent plan that went to City Council that they gave us tentative approval to get that initial bidding out is the plan that's up here now. So this wasn't even in your packet because this wasn't even done until this Monday, so it's hot off the presses, but we got initial direction for, again, the playground area, some knee walls here that you'll see in pink. Those are really kind of knee seat walls that will be in this plaza. They kind of serve multiple purposes. They kind of serve to contain this area where you may have kids. It also serves as a protection going into the plaza. So unfortunately, it's something we haven't always had a plan for, but something where we want to make sure we basically have protection from vehicles and something coming into this overall public space from the outside. So this isn't the final plan, but we wanted to make sure that up here in front, we had some pretty solid barriers in place. It also allows you that if you want to kind of fence off this area and make it a ticketed event or something like that, I know New Lenox does that, you have that because you kind of have these defined entrance spaces. So without restricting it too much, we also want to make sure there's protection out there when we have these large private events. There's also the thought of where we put basically a seasonal holiday tree, which is over there on the bottom right. And again, kind of up in front, so it'll be visible as we decorate it in the winter months. And then in the spring, summer, and fall months, it provides shade. So it's a location there that's visible, but also not straight in the center of anything. Not going to block visibility or anything like that. And then we'll have a shade structure as well in that area, which we're kind of calling the plaza. And you'd have different tables and things like that in there. You can hold different events in that space. And we'll again have kind of a lot of the amenities, benches, tables, shade, water, those types of things will be available in that space. So all that ties into what's really before you today, which is the city center and park subdivision plat. And again, lot 2 is where we're sitting now. That's basically carving out the city hall and police station. Lot 3 is kind of that overall city center commons lot. Lot 4 is the internal lot to that will be transferred to the park district. And we do already have an IGA in place with them to transfer that with some agreements that they would, put park equipment there and things like that. And then lot 1 is the remaining space that's basically is still unplanned for and unutilized. There's nothing proposed there now. I will say coming out of, we're working on finishing up the first draft of the comprehensive plan. I can tell you that a sub-area plan for this overall area is kind of one of the recommendations that will be coming out of that. And that includes not only lot 1 that the city still controls, but the other adjacent properties. So everything to the west of here are still commercial outlots. They're along Weber Road. I think we'd still want to see commercial development there. That kind of ties in. So, hey, you can go grab a coffee and walk over to the park and see a concert. Or if you're coming to City Hall, you have some good commercial uses to stop by. And then some potential residential developments out there as well. But before we start kind of throwing things, we want to actually come up with a good plan out here. Make sure both the uses are connected as well as things like walkability, parking, things like that are all taken into account. For now, lot 1 functions pretty well, that if we do have a big event at this plaza, lot 1 can function as a temporary parking lot. We also have Menards to the south of this, which has a very large, mostly unused parking lot, and they've been willing to work with the city and other businesses at different times to host parking there that you could either shuttle or close off roads to make sure people can walk safely. So we have multiple options there, but long term we'll need to think about what kind of events were happening here and how we handle parking as well. And with that overall area plan, I would also say that, things going north too, and maybe some of the prison property that's been thought to transfer to the city at some point could also be part of that planning of just kind of how we overall connect this area and how we kind of connect it to the overall community. Because right now, you can really only get here by car. So we'd like to try and at least find some other avenues and come up with some plans of how we start connecting walkways and bike pathways and things like that. So we are working on a bike path planning study. As we speak, we just got the first draft of that and some feedback back to our consultant. And then we have the comprehensive plan, which will look at that as well. And then that will give the city some guidance of kind of how we go about doing that. But this park is part of that, since we'll take into account trails and kind of how it connects, sidewalks. But then we'll have to take those next steps on how it connects in going forward. So again, the requested approvals before you guys today is the plat of subdivision, the special use, and then the variations for what's largely that internal lot for the playground. Overall staff analysis is in your staff report, but obviously this is unique in a B3 zoning district to have these types of uses, these types of public uses. And again, this area is pretty limited when you talk about traditional commercial development. And again, our zoning code's kind of set up for traditional development. This is not traditional, but it will serve the larger public good. It kind of fits with the long-term plan of the city, even that we have adopted now. The comprehensive plan really talks about creating some kind of central public space, a space for events that we can expand. And again, the proposal here kind of allows us to have overall phasing and some different design elements that can get approved over time. While you'd love to do a massive park and do it all at once, we want to make sure it's well planned out, but that we kind of can do stuff over time, just so we can physically get it going and started. Again, the goal is to go out to bid this year, hopefully, for it, and then start the work and kind of get overall mass grading in place. One of the goals being we can establish some level of grass and ground, and that means we could potentially start using this next year. If we waited till spring, it probably means all of next year it would be a muddy mess and not something outside of maybe the playground and the paved areas that could be used. We really want to give it our best shot to try and utilize this. So probably phase 1 and phase 2 would have been combined, but just due to the nature of timing and weather and everything else, we're looking to break that apart. And so staff recommends approval of the special use request and the variations as well as the plat, subject to the submitted plans and any conditions that are appropriate to the Plan Commission and City Council. We don't have any recommended conditions because it's the cities, so having the City Council give conditions to themselves seems a little not the best method, since they can just override them at any point anyways. So we do have a good design team put together here. We have RVI as our lead design consultant on this. They've done a lot of public spaces, a lot of public parks. Internally, the team includes myself, Ron Wiederman, our engineer, director of engineering, Blaine Wing, who's our administrator, and then we have Pete Hall from the Park District, who's brought a lot of guidance to us as well. He's done these before, right? We have Brent Hassert Park, and then they also, the Lockport Township Park District even has other kind of regional type parks, Delwood Park. They do concerts, they do these types of things, so he's been able to give us good guidance on the details of where we need speakers and lights and kind of how to just set these up from a design standard. We also have the libraries within the design team as well, because we're hoping they can kind of actively utilize this, maybe get a story walk, or they have kind of summer camps and activities that they'll really be able to kind of utilize this space as well, and benefit the community. So we have a good design team here all together. We're hoping this is a success. So we've got the standards for a variation and special use are in your packet as well, but I am here if you guys have any questions. So I'll bring it back to the pretty picture. So.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Any questions? Jeff, you want to start with you?
Nothing. I like it though.
Marty? Gordon?
Good.
Ken?
No, just a great idea.
Yep.
Long overdue.
All right, so I want to make some comments just on the park itself, but I want the public hearing to stay focused on the request, which is to grant the special use and the variations for the exact reason that Andrew just said. We want to get that out of the way, so when they get ready to hit the ground running, they don't have to worry about, oops, we need to get this variation. So we want to do that, and that's the main focus of this public hearing. So is there anyone in the audience that would like to make a comment? And having no one come up, any follow-up comment? Or I'm going to ask for a motion to close the public hearing for case SU-26-7-8-1 and V-26-6-8-1. Motion to close.
I'll make that motion.
Commissioner Peterson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Butler. Roll call, please.
Jeff Peterson,
Yes.
Gordon Butler.
Yes.
Ken Carroll,
Yes,
Marty Flynn,
Yes.
Bill Thomas.
Yes. Public hearing is closed at 7:31. Okay, now we can do some discussion, and again, if you have any comments that we want to pass along to the city staff and city council about our thoughts for what they're proposing here, we can do that as recommendation before we make the final motion for the thing. Let me just start it off. I mean, this is something that really excites me. So I've been driving around a lot, looking at places, looking over all the paperwork, and I'm in love with Brett Hazard Park. I don't know how many of you have gone over there, but the amenities that they have for probably younger than teenagers is incredible. Between some really exotic playground equipment and on a very hot day, that splash walk where the water's coming up out of the thing is incredible. And so, I mean, today was a pretty nice day. Yesterday afternoon was a really nice day. And one day prior, I have seen no one there. Zero. No cars in the parking lot. And I'm thinking, wow, does the city of Crest Hill really need another playground right now with that one a couple of miles away and so incredible? And nobody's using it. So I'm a little concerned about that. And when I first got wind of the Crest Hill comments, I thought when we talked about it at the brainstorming session we had here, what we were looking to do is turn that area into a place that had the amenities that residents from Crest Hill would not need to leave Crest Hill to take advantage of, while at the same time drawing residents of Crest Hill to a common location to do that. Having said that, I don't think a playground fits that criteria. I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't have a playground there, but as the first step, I'm kind of liking the idea after spending some time in Batavia. If none of you have seen what they've done to their downtown on the eastern side, they've created a Batavia market. And I kind of can picture a city of Crest Hill marketplace where you have stalls for Crest Hill vendors to sell their wares. There could be times when you could even have a flea market there and stuff like that. If I was going to pick something of all the different things to do first, I would recommend doing that first, because the payback would be a lot more instantaneous than yet another playground. So I definitely want to get that message to our city staff that's doing an incredible job, and to city council. I really think we need to take a look at what we want to do to prioritize it. I was surprised that Hazard Park doesn't have the barriers like we were talking, like our knee wall would do. And you know, if we didn't have that knee wall in front, and even in the couple of spots where we have walkways to get in, most definitely, I believe we want to make sure we have bollards there. We have learned our lesson, and Oswego's Portillo's was a terrible lesson, that we need to start protecting places where people are and cars are at the same time, because not everybody seems to know where the brake is. And we've had some incidences in our subdivision where people have hit the gas instead of the brake and run into homes or garages. So I really think we need to make sure we've got bollards or knee walls everywhere there's an opportunity for some type of vehicle to get in there. But overall, I think it's a tremendous idea, and I think it's something that the city of Crest Hill sorely needs to kind of make us a place where people want to stay here and do stuff. So,
If I could,
Yeah.
can I at least address, the playground isn't going to necessarily be the first thing in, so I think it's a little deceiving in this photo. The phase one's not even going to include the playground equipment itself going in, but we're just trying to call out where that space is. The first phase is really to get this front part established and the overall grading established. The playground's going to go in as we put in that kind of second phase where you put in the overall path and you can do those things like the markets and stuff. So, and as we talk about markets and vendors and whatever, you could have a record sale thing, you know, whatever cool kind of events you wanted to, you could have a chocolate fest, whatever you wanted. We're talking about things like setting up power in the right places, where you can kind of put speakers and lights in the right places, so that way we're not running extension cords all over the place, we don't have generators all over the place, and it creates that cool setup where you can have those things. So that's all coming in that second phase along with the playground. I don't think the main goal was to make this a park, kind of, you know, the goal is that we want this to be family friendly. And this is more personal than it is professional, but I always appreciate when there is a playground at a place. I go to a lot of Shorewoods fests and stuff, and so they do it kind of by their city hall. They have the amphitheater area. And it's just good because you can sit and watch something, and especially if you have a kid or a couple kids that you can kind of trust. You don't always have to keep an eye on them, but it's enough to kind of keep them busy. And so when you have those markets, it'll be kind of nice for families to have a place where, you know.
Yeah.
you-
Yeah, I
And
don't
the
disagree.
equipment there, the plan is from, you know, toddler, the smallest equipment, all the way up to 12 at least. So it'll cover a long range there. Again, just that being part of what we're trying to do here. Have a place where somebody could go hang out with their kids. And even right now, I think with the library, there's a good connection there that you could have, you know, somebody could go get a book, their kids could get a few books, but then they get to go play. Even out there right now, I see kids kind of kicking soccer balls around and things like that in that area currently from the library. So again, I think that's just there to kind of tie it in. I do kind of agree, it may not be the most heavily utilized playground unless there's events going on, because nobody immediately lives around here or could walk here. The closest residents we have are behind walls, so I don't think they're utilizing it, but it is, again, as we try and activate this space and do events, I think the goal is having an amenity that parents, families can utilize for their kids.
and I think that's the same
Nothing-
reason why if you drive by Hassard Park with no other events going on, you're not going to see anybody at the playground. But if they're there playing soccer or the sports fields, I'm sure that the younger kids and the mom or dad are going to go over to the playground to keep them occupied.
And
So
that's
building a
designed as
playground
like,
in such an isolated place, there's got to be something else,
yeah.
or,
Well, at least the last couple days, I would surmise as to why nobody was there, because with trees coming down and storms and everything else happening. Also, school starting is a big one. So like during the summer, I was out there taking photos for our comprehensive plan, and it was busy during the day, specifically with stay-at-home parents and, you know, maybe teachers that are parents. And so during the day, there was a lot of people out there. School just started, I think, this week, depending on what districts you're in. Maybe next week, but I think because it's getting to the end, the weather's been a disaster. I could see that. We did try and design this, and that's why the park district's been so heavily involved, because we didn't want to recreate something we already have in town. We wanted to create somewhere that was a central gathering space, and, you know, they can do some events out there, and it draws in maybe some people, but we wanted some more a place for community events, and this seemed like that. But again, we didn't want to, this isn't a regional playground and park. There's no splash pad here. We're not doing, they have a pretty extensive playground there that's got, you know, it's meant to be a regional draw for that entire park district, not just Crest Hill. We want to draw in people potentially here, but it's, again, kind of a different feel, a different setting. The thought being more events, music, markets, those types of things that we can do, that this creates a better kind of centralized space for Crest Hill. But the playground's just a small piece of that, and it's really there to kind of accommodate parents or children and families that we have here in Crest Hill. Not necessarily one that's going to be heavily utilized, but again, even the libraries, during the day, I mean, that parking lot looks full, especially, and I'm sure that teeters out after summer, but during the summer, they have some really good amenities in there for kids and families as well. So I think that helps, and that's one of the reasons it's even kind of that way, right? So they can do reading events with kids, and, you know, sometimes Chase shows up and reads a Paw Patrol book or something like that. They can do that and kind of tie in the playground. So we're working on it. There's a lot of opinions and everything going in. So the playground itself has been kind of set since, I know, well before I got here. The agreement they had with the park district dates back a couple of years now. But
Yeah.
we're not going to do that ahead of kind of the overall park here.
Okay, all right, thanks. All right, anybody else want to make a comment before we ask for a motion?
I'll comment, we need a playground. It's the first thing grandparents and parents say, what are we gonna do with the kids? Well, there's a playground.
Yeah.
And the last 2 days, we had tornadoes and like Dan said, wind, and who's gonna go to the park in the last 2 days?
Yeah, no, I
We're
spend,
gonna base it off that.
I spend a lot of time at Station 6, and if there's no event going on, there's nobody at the playground. So it complements the events perfectly. So, understand. Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the request from the City of Crest Hill for special approvals from the Crest Hill subdivision zoning ordinance and city code to subdivide the subject property into 4 lots, a special use for an outdoor entertainment plaza and public park playground in the B3 Business Service District, and variations requests from Table 2 zoning districts and standard for non-residential uses in the B3 Business Service District and Section 8.3-8 permitted obstructions in the yards of the Crest Hill zoning ordinance. Basically, everything they've asked for. Can I have a motion to approve it?
I'll make that motion.
All right, we'll go with Commissioner Carroll, second by Commissioner Flynn. Roll call, please.
Give me a second. Okay. Ken Carroll,
Yes.
Marty Flynn,
Yes.
Gordon Butler,
Yes.
Jeff Peterson,
Yes.
Bill Thomas,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, so the Planning Commission recommends City Council's conditional approval of the preliminary and final plat of subdivision to subdivide the subject property into 4 lots, a special use for an outdoor entertainment plaza known as Crest Hill Commons, multiple variations from Table 2 zoning districts and standards for non-residential uses in the B3 Business Service District. And again, Section 8.3-8 permitted obstructions in yards of the Crest Hill zoning ordinance, subject to the project being implemented in substantial conformance with the application documents referenced in the August 13th, 2026 Plan Commission staff report for petitions under case SU-26-7-8-1 and V-26-6-8-1. The recommendation will be forwarded to City Council. Keep in mind, the Plan Commission is a recommending body only, and I believe the City Council will tentatively hear this at their August 24th, 2026 workshop, and then at the September 8th, 2026 City
Yes.
Council meeting.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Whew. All right. Second case on the agenda tonight is a public hearing and consideration of petition TXT-26-1-8-1, a request of the City of Crest Hill seeking approval of text amendments to Chapter 15.12 of the sign code of the Crest Hill Code of Ordinances. Once again, Atifa, is the paperwork in order?
All necessary paperwork is in order.
All right, thank you. With that, I would like to have a motion to open the public hearing for case TXT-26-1-8-1.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Peterson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Butler. Roll call, please.
Jeff Peterson.
Yes.
Gordon Butler.
Yes.
Ken Carroll.
Yes.
Murray Flynn.
Yes.
Bill Thomas.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Public hearing is opened at 7:45. Again, the subject of this hearing is to discuss the proposed text amendments to update and modernize the current sign code regulations. As we know, this topic was discussed at length in our July 9th, 2026 Plan Commission meeting, and the city staff is now ready to make their recommendations. Who's going to
I'm
field this one?
present.
Okay.
Yeah.
City of Crest Hill Planner, Atifa, to present the specifics.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have our, at our last meeting, Plan Commission meeting, that I know a couple of our commissioners, they were not present. But we had a presentation last time and we had a discussion of the overall updates to the sign code, what challenges the staff, residents, business owners, and people who have dealt with sign, they have faced, and we came up with some proposed amendments. The proposal, the text amendments are very much similar to what we have here. It is quite the same, has remained the same from last time. There's only one change that we have made, and I'm not gonna go over the entire presentation. So one change that we have made, and we took into consideration the recommendation of the Plan Commission. We talked about wall signs last time, and what we proposed, let me go to this slide. Oops.
There you
Okay. So last time, the ratio that we came up with, so the current code says 15% of total wall area of the unit space, the frontage. And on the very right, you see what we have as current, 15%. On the very left, you see what we proposed last time, which was 1.5 square foot per 1 foot of store frontage. And the Plan Commission, there were some concerns that it's not as visible, so we increased from 1.5 to 2. So in the middle you see the new proposal and the new basically numbers and ratio, and it has increased. It's something in the middle, it's not much excessive, and it's not that restrictive as well. So this was the only change that we made to our proposed text amendments. Everything else has remained the same from last time. I'm not going to go over the entire presentation, but we also sent you the red line document, and we sent you the original sign code to kind of like compare. I also left a few comments for you, what has been moved around, how we condensed it, made it more organized, the overall structure of the sign code. So tonight we'll be discussing your comments, and if there is something specific in the red line document that you want to address, and taking your recommendation. The staff believe that based on the research that we did in the past few months and looking into other communities, we believe that the proposed text amendments will streamline our processes, and it will improve and modernize our regulations, and it's going to have a positive impact on our sign regulations. And staff recommend that the Plan Commission recommend approval of this case to the City Council. So with that, I would like to turn it back to the Plan Commission members if you have any comments, or Dan, if you want to add on to this.
No, I'll just say, I think I said this last time, over the last year, something I think both me and Atifa have noticed is that our sign code was pretty dated. There was signs that were just not good looking that we were basically forced to approve. So Some of this has basically been driven by that. It's been driven by design and trying to improve the appearance of our streetscapes and our commercial corridors that really are the most visible part of the community. And then also try and bring in some flexibility and clarity in areas. So actually, the design has gotten tight, a little stricter, it seems like. We actually are being a little more flexible in some of the signage. And even something like the wall sign percentage is not something any community does, because it's pretty hard to calculate for both contractors and staff. So just simplifying something like that to be based on linear footage is something much easier to calculate for everyone, because you're running a tape measure, not trying to, figure out the height and exclude windows and all kinds of other things. So this was just based on kind of our experience. I will say that ATFA did a lot of research on this, a lot of background work to try and come up with what we think is a really good code that will fit the city of Crest Hill. I'll also say this about any text amendment: we're not perfect and we can't anticipate every situation. If there are things that come up that seem like they weren't based on the intent, or maybe we didn't think about something, or come back to you guys and kind of adjust if we need to. If sizes or something starts to seem really off, or we get some feedback from businesses that something's hurting them, I'm always in the mindset of we keep adjusting, because sometimes you just don't know how codes are going to work till you go use them. I think we take a really good, educated guess. We've done a lot of research, a lot of comparisons to other communities, so I think we're in a good place, but I'll just say that as we can't anticipate everything. So if something comes up, we'll come back to you guys and adjust if need be. So that's all I have, but thanks to ATFA, did a lot of the research and pulling this together. So as well as our attorney gave us some pretty good feedback as well. Yeah, any questions, let us know.
Yeah, thank you for incorporating that one picture you had of the middle. Looks a lot nicer than we did. I was looking for the section in here. Man, I read it somewhere where we were talking about the brightness of the lights, and you had suggested that we include a reference to the
Yes.
existing.
Yeah, so.
Is that in there?
Yeah, I can
Okay.
look up the specific provision, but we have included, in the zoning ordinance, we have some performance standards, including lighting, noise, sound and pollution and everything. So we have referred back that the electrical signs, digital signs, LED signs, they should comply with the performance standards of section, I think, 8.5 of the zoning ordinance. So that has been included.
All right,
And
good.
also it should meet the electrical code and, the city code. There are some provisions as well for brightness and everything. So we have tied it back that they have to comply with all the applicable, codes and regulations. That has been included.
Okay, all right, thank you. Yeah, I know we talked quite a bit at last month, and then, looking through the minutes from the meeting, that, there's so many of the older signs in existence, and we're certainly not going to put any hardships on the current businesses. But when you look at what we're starting to develop on what I'll call the Weber Road corridor from Caton Farm to Renwick, and the Broadway corridor now, I think we're going to have a lot of opportunities to start utilizing our new sign regulations, which is going to really help those two areas and maybe influence older neighborhoods to say, wow, we want to do that also. So, yeah, that's a great job. Anybody else have any comments? Anybody in the audience? We have a nice silent audience tonight. That's good. All right, any wrap-up comments?
No?
So with that, then, I would like to ask for a motion to close the public hearing for case TXT-26-1-8-1. Motion, please.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Flynn,
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Carroll. Roll call, please.
Murray Flynn,
Yes.
Ken Carroll,
Yes.
Gordon Butler.
Yes.
Jeff Peterson,
Yes.
Bill Thomas.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Public hearing closed at 7:55. Any need for any further discussion amongst us before I ask for a motion to approve the request of the City of Crest Hill for approval of the text amendments to Chapter 15.12 of the Sign Code of the Crest Hill Code of Ordinances? Motion by
I'll make that motion.
Commissioner Peterson. Second by Commissioner Butler. Your eyes gave it away. Okay. Roll call, please.
Jeff Peterson,
Yes.
Gordon Butler.
Yes.
Ken Carroll,
Yes.
Murray Flynn,
Yes.
Bill Thomas.
Yes.
Motion carried.
With that, the Plan Commission recommends City Council's approval of the proposed text amendments to Chapter 15.12 of the Sign Code of the Crest Hill Code of Ordinances, subject to the proposed text amendments being implemented in substantial conformance with the application documents referenced in the August 13th, 2026 Plan Commission Staff Report for Case TXT-26-1-8-1. Again, our recommendation will be forwarded to City Council. We are recommending body only, and the City Council will tentatively hear this case on August 24th, 2026, and also again at the September 8th, 2026 City Council meeting. That concludes the cases for tonight. Is there any other business anyone wants to bring up?
Not unless you want an update from me now. I know you like them, so.
Yes, I do. There's obviously no public comment, so let's get an update on what's happening.
I don't have any updates from the last meeting because it was really just the signs at the last meeting, so we obviously covered that today. But I do have an update for Hillcrest Shopping Center is getting 2 new businesses. I think Swig Drinks, which has been on, I know at least the patch, but I think they're getting a couple other news releases and stuff that you'll see out there. So it's the first one in Illinois. That'll be opening here in Crest Hill, where the previous Smoothie King was. I know they have their temporary occupancy. They've been doing training in there. I don't know the exact date they're opening yet, but I do know it should be fairly soon, and they're kind of going to do a soft opening and not make it a big deal so they can kind of train their staff before you get some rushes. But I do know they're going to have a grand opening event as well, and there'll be free drinks there. So if you don't know what a dirty soda is, you'll be able to go try it. I don't really, so I'll go try it, and we'll see how
So
it
the Plan
goes.
Commission already approved the zoning variation for that drive-through for Smoothie King, so they are able to just move in under the guise of that already
Yes.
approved.
The
Yep.
existing especially.
Yep, and the demand is roughly the same. So that's one of the things we look at when something comes through is like, obviously, there might be some uses that would well exceed what that design could handle. But it meets all the same things as when it was approved for a drive-through originally. And even, again, drink-related, like it's very similar. But
Okay.
this seems to be popular with people younger than me. So hopefully it'll do successful there. The business owner's been great to deal with. He's done everything well, gotten all the right permits, all the right inspections. And I know he owns businesses nearby in the area as well. So this isn't his first one. He's excited to get started here though. So, and we're excited to have them. In the same shopping center, we have Acapulco Bakery that's going to be opening as well. They have a location in Shorewood. This will be their second location they're opening. So kind of a local area bakery. I believe it's a Mexican bakery, but they do all kinds of things. So looking forward, I know they've been finishing up with their build out. They'll be opening soon too. So 2 good uses there. Restaurant drink use and a bakery. Those are the types of things I'm looking to get as opposed to some others. So Looking forward to those. We have some other uses looking at that center as well in the vacancies, so hopefully start to see some momentum there. I know that the owner's been working on with us too on just overall maintenance, so if you notice as we talk about signs, actually those photos were pretty bad photos from the shopping center, but they've actually done significant repairs. They've painted everything. In terms of the signage, they just did a parking lot for, repaving and striping at one of their entrances off of Route 30. So they're kind of trying to reinvest into that shopping center and hopefully attract some good brands and good businesses in there as well that complement what's already there. So Seasons at Crest Hill, so the apartment complex, that is really close to getting their first permit. So I believe everything's approved. Their contractor was in here getting registered. It could get issued tomorrow. If not, it'll be early next week. So you could see dirt moving out there pretty soon. Looking forward to that. The Quick Trip, they're just waiting on a final disconnect and approval from ComEd, and then that'll get demolished, the old city hall, and they'll start underground work there as well because that permit's approved. Something that hasn't been brought up regularly here, but will be really cool for the community, and I think will play into kind of some of the visuals you may see going forward, is that we're moving over to the GIS consortium. I believe they have about 60 communities in the Chicagoland area, and they kind of run the GIS for us. We've previously utilized Robinson, which helped us set up kind of the initial data of just kind of utilities, zoning, some basic stuff. But the GIS consortium has some really cool tools, utilities, public-facing information that can help the public figure out which taxing districts they're in, garbage and water information and zoning and all that stuff will be a public-facing map that anybody could utilize. Behind the scenes, we'll have even more information, things like public utility locations, and it's expected to be more accurate and more useful, but really for all our departments. They got some really good public safety tie-ins, traffic information, things like that we can utilize to help make staff decisions, but should also tie into the recommendations we give you here. It's a lot easier, I know, to pull even just addresses for zoning letters and things like that. They have some really good tools. So I'm looking forward to that. We're kind of wrapping up the onboarding of the data, and then we're going to have some staff training, get it up on the website probably mid-September. So I will make sure everybody here knows about that as well. And then you'll see hopefully some better maps and just information we might be able to pull from that going forward as well. We are, as the community development department, we're looking to hire a new building inspector. So if anybody knows anybody, I'm just going to mention that here because the more applicants, the better. But we're hoping to start interviews here in the next week or two and have a new inspector on board. A big thing I like to talk about is just code enforcement, especially for a community the age of Crest Hill. I think it's very important, especially in our old areas, that we keep up on that. So whoever we hire, one of their big focuses will be code enforcement, property maintenance, those types of things. So looking forward to that. The city's new website's going to launch soon as well too. So it's right now it looks like it's from like 2008. So we'll start looking like we're in 2026. Have kind of a refreshed look to it, as well as we've kind of rethought the layout and the way you kind of click through them on there. So it should be a better and just kind of more modern layout. The address will also change here shortly as well. We're going to be cresthill.gov as opposed to cityofcresthill.com. So not many communities and local governments have a .com address, and the .gov is a lot more secure for a lot of reasons, especially with emails and everything else that gets attached to them. So We'll have new business cards. You'll probably see some posts about that. The cityofcresthill.com domain is still ours, though, so it'll redirect. But we're trying to catch up to the times and have more modern and secure website.
So our
address.
emails will eventually be
Yes.
.gov?
Yes. And for at least 6 months, but probably longer, it'll all redirect to the right address automatically. And then we'll just have to, over time, try and make sure people are using the right one for anything. But so it'll be a little bit of a headache for employees, elected officials, appointed officials, but in the grand scheme of what we're doing here, it's the right move. So I know that's been one of Blaine's pet projects that he's been working on for the year he's been here. So we're excited to see that launch. And again, just a refreshed website. All the information's kind of been combed through, so we're not keeping outdated stuff that's been on there with a better layout. Last but not least, I know I've had questions about 1693 Plainfield Road, which is the former Hobo Handy Andy. They took down the sign, so I know that was noticeable to some people, but they've been marketing and they're kind of moving forward with the plan to really demolish that part of the building. They'd be keeping the O'Reilly's Auto Parts where it's at, but demolishing the rest of it, and then they would create kind of 3 new outlots along Plainfield Road that could be utilized by any type of commercial uses there. And so we've been encouraging that and working with that property owner because I think that's the best long-term use. I've tried for the year I've been here to get somebody in a 53,000 square foot building with low ceilings that's pretty outdated and has roof leaks, and nobody's really interested in it. So the same thing with the property owner's broker, we've kind of worked with them. And I think they have a good plan here to kind of separate those outlots. I think they have some pretty aggressive interest on a couple of them, so we're looking forward to that. That'll be before you guys at some point as a PUD, but I just want to let you know they're marketing it publicly like that, so it's out there, but that will have to go through a zoning process. The September meeting is going to be full, so we'll have 3 or 4 items on that, so get excited. We got everything from redevelopment. Actually, it's pretty much all redevelopments. So I got 4 potential redevelopment projects on that property, but that's good news. That's what we like to see, is people reinvesting in our older commercial corridors around Route 30 and Broadway.
What is the 4th one?
Is it 3?
3 cases. There are 3 cases. What is the 4th one?
Sorry, it'll be 3 redevelopment cases, and the
Yeah.
4th item will be talking just in general about uses. So
Yeah, so
3
it's
to
gonna
4
be,
items.
yeah, so it's like existing properties being improved, to some extent, but there will be like special uses. I think all 3 are special uses.
And then the 4th item will be just we're going to kind of like signs, we're going to
More of a
start with a
discussion.
discussion about just kind of uses in general and what we may want to loosen up, what we want to tighten up. I've gotten some direction from the council on data centers already, and they want to add that into we're talk about prohibiting them, not because we have one proposed, but just because we want to be ahead of anybody asking. But then there's some other stuff too that we've gotten feedback in the year I know I've been here about types of uses that are maybe we have too many of and aren't a good look for Crest Hill. And then there's some other stuff we've run into that kind of seems like we're overly restrictive on. So we'll just have that discussion. But that is all I have, unless anybody's got any questions.
Wow.
That's enough.
Looks like
That's it.
Crest Hill's got a pretty bright future in front of them, thanks to the
Yeah,
city
hopefully.
staff. Thanks for the update.
We're busy.
Any final comments? Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Carroll, second by Commissioner Peterson. Roll call, please.
Ken Carroll,
Yes.
Jeff Peterson,
Yes.
Gordon Butler,
Yes.
Marty Flynn,
Yes.
Bill Thomas.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Meeting adjourned at 8:09. Thank you.